Now, if AT&T can get regulatory approval for its merger with T-Mobile, that could take a year, for example, the next challenge is going to be how do they retain their customers and how do they add more subscribers by taking them from a competing carrier like, well, Verizon. That might be the only one left. For more insight into that side of the story, we're joined now by Robert Bloom. He is the author of The New Experts. He's also the former chairman and chief executive of Publicis, the global advertising company. Robert Bloom, it's great to have you with us again on Bloomberg. And, you know, I'm noticing that in the blurb for your book, The New Experts, this is by Robert Dotson, who at the time president, chief executive, T-Mobile USA. He says the new experts, meaning your book, is going to force every responsible business leader to look into the mirror. Obviously, it's in very small type, I understand. But do you think he looked in the mirror and he said, we can't survive on our own? As a result, we got to shop ourselves around. Best deal, AT&T, and $39 billion later, there we go.
I think it's good for both carriers. It gives them a combination of spectrum, which is really the measurement of the situation, and gives them, without question, a position with that spectrum that outdoes everyone else.
Now, when you talk about spectrum, then you also have to talk about the quality of the service that AT&T has been providing people. You spend a lot of time writing and thinking about customers and customer service. Is this going to solve AT&T's problem? Is it all technical, do you believe?
Well, I don't think a merger solves any problem. It can create some. But I think in this instance, there's something that I believe very strongly, is you don't have to be bigger than competition, and you don't have to be better than competition. But what you do have to be is different than competition. So AT&T has to develop a positioning that is different, and not one that's fake, but one that's real. And
do you think they've done it so far?
No, I don't. I don't think any of the carriers have done it. They've been so busy gathering customers that they haven't had that to do. But once you're the biggest, then you don't have to do that. So I think one of the things that they could do is to do something else that I believe in very strongly. If you try to stand for everything, you stand for nothing. The other final thing that I would say is that any business can influence its customers' entire experience with them, or they can just let it happen. And too many of the carriers have been letting it happen. T-Mobile had a very good service platform.
This is Taking Stock on Bloomberg. I'm Pimm Fox. I'm reading Robert Bloom's book. We continue our conversation on AT&T's $39 billion plan to acquire T-Mobile. And Bob Bloom, the author of The New Experts, Win Today's Newly Empowered Customers at Their 4 Decisive Moments. But another book that you've put your name to, The Inside Advantage, about unlocking hidden growth in your business, also has a blurb from Bob Dotson. He is the chief executive of T-Mobile, and he says this is a step-by-step guide to the resident magic inside any organization, right? The inside magic. Now, so I wonder, what is the resident magic inside a mobile phone company? Because this seems like a magical enterprise, being able to give people access anywhere, anytime to communications all over the world. And yet, as you just described, no one seems interested in telling people why they're different.
You have to be different, as I've said. And I would suggest that AT&T take a leaf from a man named Jeff Bezos. Because
of Amazon.com. All right, indeed.
Because he's created a service platform that is just fantastic. And it's the two things that you have to have are total consensus in the organization for your platform, and then it has to be aligned all the way through. The people in the mailroom have to believe it. Everyone has to believe it.
Right. If you get a book that you didn't order, the company basically says, keep the book, don't worry about it. We're going to send you the book you did order. We want to keep you as a customer.
They believe in that customer-centric platform. And I believe, as I said earlier, if you're already the biggest, as AT&T will be, you don't have to strive for more customers and more customers. What you can do is to keep those customers and also gain new customers by having a service platform. Bezos said this about his company. He said, we just try to figure out what customers want, and then we try to figure out what we can do to give it to them. That his business philosophy. I think it's a very good one.
So why is this not something that, at least from all intents and purposes, is being followed by the telecommunications industry? They seem to compete almost exclusively on price or whether they have the new gadget that they don't even actually manufacture.
I just think it's fallen into a trap that so many industries and categories have, where everybody tries to copy everybody else, and therefore it is a copy. You do have to be different. Not bigger, not better, but different. And that's what AT&T has the opportunity to do, is to really be different by building a service platform. And I would suggest it's very digital service platform, so that the customer can really be in touch with that, with the company digitally.
How about when you talk about a service platform, where you talk about differentiating themselves, how about a plan that most people can understand? I mean, why is it that the industry has created this labyrinth just to be able to give the company your own money to use the service that ostensibly they've spent billions of dollars creating? Why have they made it so complicated?
Well, I would take them off a hook a little bit and say there are a lot of government restrictions and requirements in those labyrinths, and therefore many of them are really not of the company's making, but it's the government required that, and so that probably will continue. But that doesn't mean that you can't provide that kind of service to the customer. And I think AT&T can stand for that now that they're the biggest.
All right, now you're going to have AT&T, and if the deal goes through, AT&T plus T-Mobile up against Verizon. What do you think Verizon's response ought to be right now?
I think they need to get back to the drawing board, since they will not have all of the spectrum that AT&T has. They have to stand for something else, and it can't. If AT&T were to own service and customer service and give that experience, then Verizon will have to do something else. I'll leave that to Verizon to do, and they'll figure it out.
Now, what about the third place contender here? I mean, Sprint, they are operating under a lot of duress. They have tried to build out a prepaid business where people pay up front for the minutes that they're going to use. What's the future of Sprint? How can they really get the mind of the consumer to focus on Sprint? I
come back to it, and I'm sorry to be stuck in this, but I would say you have to have a difference. And frequently, it doesn't make, that difference has to be a benefit to the client. It's not about you, the company. It's about you, the customer. So, but
would it be about price, or would it be about technology, or
that I couldn't comment on? But what you don't want to be is what Verizon would be, or what AT&T would be. What you want is own a difference that no one else owns.
Why is it so difficult for a company like even a Sprint or AT&T or Verizon to do it? And yet the example that you give is Jeff Bezos of Amazon.com. Is that because, for all intents and purposes, his name is on the door? It's his company?
No, I don't think so. I think that there are certain people who have a certain genius for things. Steve Jobs, is Mr. Cool. Jeff Bezos is Mr. Service, and there are people who have. Stanley Marcus was
Neiman Marcus. Howard Schultz of Starbucks. Does he fall into that category?
Yeah, exactly, I think so. And I think that there's certain people who have, not just in their gut, but in their heart. And that has to come, and then it has to penetrate all the way through the company. It can't be a slogan. You don't want a slogan. You don't want a tagline. What you want is a basic fundamental belief that is all the way through the company.
All right. Well, I want to thank you very much, Bob Bloom, the author of two books, The Inside Advantage and The New Experts. And, of course, they got the blurbs by Dotson, the chief executive of T-Mobile. I bet you didn't know that was going to be the topic.
I did.
Thank you very much. Appreciate spending time with us.